Hi there, this is Alan from Mural Junkie. This is an update to the video that I made yesterday on installing and activating the tachometer on a newer Ural that has the Acewell speedometer. So I thought I would share with you what I learned and what I was hoping would happen. So let's get going. Okay, so anyway, yesterday when I was finishing up the Tach install, I went and I tried to reset the speedometer as is shown here in this picture. The basic functions you get to when you are programming this is if you push both buttons down, hold them for a second, then you start going through all the modes that you can change. So it first starts out with 12-hour, 24-hour, and then it goes into setting the time, hour, minute, etc., etc. Then it goes into setting up the trip reminder for your service, and then it goes into the color mode. And then it is supposed to go into a bunch of other modes, including the one in the middle here, the SP1R2P. Now, when you go and set this speedometer up, you're supposed to change that to a different value. I couldn't do it. So this is what my speedometer does. It does just won't show the extra steps. Now, I had my speedometer replaced a long time ago under warranty, and I remember seeing that. So I think that it was my old speedometer that I saw it on. I've never really looked for it on this one. So I was kind of worried that it wouldn't quite work well. I thought I would either have to divide by 2 or multiply by 2 to get the right Tach values. Anyway, long story short, it actually seems to work. So here's some video of going through the gears. I tried to get up to even numbers like 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, etc. And at one point, just to verify that the Tach was working, I revved it up in 3rd gear. When I say revved it up, I tried to get it to redline in 3rd gear, and I was able to do that. I hit 57, 58, something like that. So this thing does appear to work on my bike. I don't know why, but if you install this tachometer, you might need to go in and follow these steps in order to... This is an expert of the David Wayne instructional guide, and he tells you, as you can see, what you need to set that value to as you're going through the programming steps on the speedometer. All in all, I'm pretty happy with it. The noise level, so of course it's an inductive setup, right? So there is going to be some noise. I found that the noise level, in other words, the bouncing around of the numbers, is worse at higher RPMs than it is at lower RPMs. But on the bright side, the noise or the bouncing of the numbers only goes up. It doesn't go down. So they'll bounce up, but they'll come back down to the correct value. So as you were riding along and you see the number bounce around, when it comes back down to the normal value, that's actually what the RPMs are. So what I wanted to do next was to actually take a look at the performance of the engine. I have attached right here the torque and horsepower curve. It was done on a dyno. This is off of a 2014, so it does have electrojet fuel injectors. The torque curve in red is mighty impressive. The horsepower curve in blue is also mighty impressive. No dips. It's just a really solid running engine. Anyway, it looks like it peaks out about 5,500 RPM. Whoever did the dyno test ran it up to 5,550, 5,600, something in there. So what I'm doing is actually referencing the engine back to that 5,600 RPM. So I created a little spreadsheet. You can see on this chart right here, the line is really straight. That means that the tachometer is accurate at different RPMs and at different road speeds. These numbers are all in 4th gear, of course, and none of the other gears. If I were to look at how nicely the line fits, it's almost 100%. So, I mean, that's like That's like really perfect. You can see that at 65, we are running about 4,800 RPM. We're actually running at 65, we're running at 4,600 RPM. So that's pretty good. You can also see the red line over on the right. I drew that line in at 5,600 RPM. And another really interesting thing, and what I think, most interested in, even if I hadn't hooked up the tachometer, I would have loved to have seen this. As you're running along at various speeds, how maxed out is your engine? In other words, is it running at 50% of max RPM or 60% of max RPM? And you can see that at 65, it's running at 82% of the maximum RPM. Now, typically my feeling is I don't really want to run more than 85%. So, yeah, I don't really want to run above 85% of maximum RPM. So basically that means that, at least for me, I could get up to 70. Yeah, so at 70 miles an hour, you're doing about 89% of the maximum RPM that the engine will even go. So, yeah, we need to keep our speeds down somewhere around 70 at the most. I'm going to still stick between 65, 70 when I ride, but I know at least now that I'm not absolutely at the max. You really can't tell with the engine if you're completely revving the guts out of it or if it is just loping along basically at higher RPM. Yeah, so all in all, the tachometer installation works pretty good. I'm really happy with it. I'm happy that it works on my bike. I was afraid that it wasn't going to. So I guess that's kind of about it. You can reference these graphs later on if you want to. So that's it for today. All good. I'll see you next time.